The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, babe.
Rachel Zegler's journey in Hollywood had all the makings of a fairy tale, until it turned into a nightmare of her own creation. Once hailed as a rising star, the young actress now finds herself at the center of a storm following the catastrophic failure of Disney's Snow White remake.
I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film.
You want to trash that legacy? That company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Ziegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids, the parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up.
The film's dismal performance at the box office was just the beginning. Whispers from the set suggest even her co-star Andrew Burnap is laying the blame at her feet. The behind-the-scenes chaos has eclipsed the movie itself, painting a picture far more gripping than anything on screen. So, let's unravel how Rachel went from Disney's golden girl to an outcast, and why the studio might be racing to distance itself from her. The trouble started early. After a disastrous opening weekend, Snow White didn't just stumble, it plummeted. Industry watchers held out hope that the numbers might climb as curious fans trickled in to see a fresh take on a beloved classic. They couldn't have been more mistaken. In its second week, the film suffered a jaw-dropping 66% drop in ticket sales, a steeper fall than Disney's 2019 Dumbo remake. This wasn't just a flop. It etched Rachel's Snow White into the record books as the worst week 2 decline of any Disney live-action reimagining.
The Snow White remake is now one of the lowest-rated films in IMDb history. This is such a poor reception for a Disney princess movie, and I'll be surprised if it even has a 1-star tomorrow because the bad reviews keep pouring in by the second. To make matters worse, this movie is about to be a box office bomb because it was projected to make $100 million worldwide opening weekend. However, it only made a little bit over $87 million. Mind you, this was a very expensive movie to make, especially with them having to reshoot a bunch of stuff, making the budget upwards of $250 million, meaning the movie would have to generate over $500 million in ticket sales in order to get a profit, and they're lucky if they even receive $100 million domestically.
As the film tanked, Rachel made a bold move to drum up support. She gathered some friends and headed to a theater to watch her own movie, perhaps hoping to spark some buzz. Instead, she walked into a ghost town. Her friend captured the moment on Instagram.
Please?
For which movie?
Shouting Rachel's name at the screen in a nearly deserted auditorium. The video went viral, kicking off a humiliating trend. Fans began filming their own trips to see Snow White, each clip revealing rows of empty seats. The internet lapped it up, and rumors swirled that Disney executives were furious. Some even whispered, though it's yet to be confirmed, that the studio had already decided to part ways with their embattled star. For Andrew Burnap, Rachel's co-star, this was supposed to be a breakout moment. Before production wrapped, he'd been tipped as a potential standout, his charm and talent poised to shine. But Rachel's actions during the press tour dimmed his spotlight. She seemed to position herself as the ultimate authority on Snow White, frequently dismissing the original film as outdated and taking subtle jabs at Andrew's character. In one particularly awkward moment, she told Extra TV that the prince was more of a weird stalker than a romantic lead.
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
The comment didn't just raise eyebrows, it sparked a firestorm. David Hand, son of the supervising director of the 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, publicly criticized her, accusing her of disrespecting Walt Disney's legacy. The backlash was relentless, forcing Rachel into damage control. In a follow-up with Variety, she tried to soften her stance. "I'd never want to say you can't have love and work or a family and a career. That's not true. Things got twisted and jokes misfired. The love story was always there. We just weren't focused on it that day." But Andrew wasn't the only one caught in Rachel's crossfire. Her rift with Gal Gadot, another co-star, added fuel to the blaze. Back in August 2024, Rachel posted on X about her support for Palestine, tying it to the Snow White trailer. The move stunned her colleagues. Gal, who'd served in the Israeli Defense Forces and openly backed Israel, took it personally. Behind closed doors, tensions boiled over. Disney scrambled to contain the fallout as Rachel's tweet drew sharp criticism, with some crew members baffled by her decision to wade into such divisive waters during a promotional push. The situation spiraled when Gal began receiving threats, prompting Disney to beef up her security. An insider claimed Rachel seemed oblivious to the chaos she'd unleashed, saying she didn't grasp what it meant, for the film, for Gal, for anyone. The two barely spoke after that. At the film's premiere, they dodged each other like strangers, and by the European debut in Spain, Gal was a no-show. Their age gap, Gal, a seasoned mother of 4, Rachel, a young actress still finding her footing, only widened the divide. Rachel didn't stop there. Amid the Gal drama, she turned her sights on a bigger target: Donald Trump and his supporters. In a fiery Instagram rant, she wished Trump supporters, voters, and Trump himself a life without peace, calling his followers a deep sickness clinging to false ideals of strength and patriotism. She capped it with a blunt "F Donald Trump." The post ignited a firestorm. MAGA fans flooded social media, demanding Disney axe her from Snow White and threatening a boycott if they didn't comply. For Disney, this was a breaking point. Rachel had alienated a chunk of their audience with no regard for the consequences. Executives dispatched producer Mark Platt for an emergency meeting with her, and a social media expert was brought in to tame her online presence. Eventually, Rachel backpedaled with an apology. "I let my emotions take over. Hatred and anger pull us away from peace, and I'm sorry I added to that. Everyone's entitled to their views, even if they differ from mine. I want to contribute to a better future." Now Rachel's career hangs in the balance. Her unfiltered words and the Snow White debacle have left her isolated, with Disney reportedly eager to move on. Andrew Burnap, meanwhile, is said to be fuming, blaming her for dragging down what could have been his big break. The question lingers: can Rachel claw her way back from this self-inflicted wound? Her fairy tale rise has morphed into a cautionary tale, proving that even in Hollywood, a sharp tongue can cut deeper than a sword. What do you think? Can she recover? Share your thoughts below and stay tuned for more.